I wonder how many dislikes this video will get. Can't wait to find out, especially considering the subject matter today. Let's get cracking then. Like any other human being, I have plenty of interests. As you've seen on this channel previously, one of those interests is collecting achievements / trophies in video games. I also have a keen interest in technology and software, mainly those that fall into the old / retro category. Another interest of mine is visiting and exploring new places in the world. Yes, I like to touch grass, what of it? But there's another interest of mine that I've rarely disclosed on my YouTube channel until now. If you follow me on any of my social medias, you'll likely know what this is, since I can't help posting about it every other second. But I figured I should get this out of the way now, since I've made it part of my brand pretty much. The truth is, I like big boys. And girls. And not that kind of big. I mean, literally big. Yes, I have a keen interest in macrophilia, or macro for short. Those of you who know about macro may look at me with excitement or disgust. And if you're in the latter camp, that's completely understandable. Have a nice day. But for those who are not in the know, macrophilia, which literally translates to lover of large, is a fascination or attraction to beings or objects significantly larger than themselves. This can range from reasonable differences in height, say the other person being a foot taller than yourself, to having attractions to universe-sized cosmic beings. I'm personally more of a fan of the higher end of that scale, because in the end it's very much a fantasy interest, so why not go all out with it, right? Macrophilia is often labelled as a fetish, due to many depictions of macro being of a sexual nature. The most common instance of macro is males being attracted to females considerably larger than themselves, feeling enjoyment from being considerably smaller and weaker than the giantess they're attracted to. However, macro is not confined to gender, with everyone being able to enjoy both perspectives of macro. The roots of macrophilia generally tend to take shape during childhood or in the teenage years, mainly from exposure to media. Most people with the fetish may attribute their discovery of macro to films containing giants or giantesses, with a common example being Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, a B-movie originally released in 1958 with a remake being produced and released in 1993. Some TV shows, music videos, and even commercials have also played with the macro concept. Others with the fetish may attribute their roots to the Japanese kaiju media genre, with the Godzilla franchise being one of the most popular forms of said media. There have also been plenty of games that feature size as a core mechanic. Of course, there are games from many years ago, such as Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, Rampage Total Destruction, or, on a slightly weirder note, the Earth Defense Force series. Lately, the rise of VR has given birth to more immersive games and experiences featuring size, with games like VR Chat having worlds where you can emulate the feeling of being big or small. Outside of VR, however, games like Property Damage have shown that there is still interest in games where you can just let loose as a giant monster. Macrophilia is strongly tied to another fetish, fittingly named Microphilia. Microphilia is essentially the opposite of macrophilia, with the person being fascinated or attracted to people or objects much smaller than them, even to a microscopic scale. These two fetishes can be encompassed into one general resizing fascination, or size difference, with some people even being attracted to both ends of the scale. I can say I'm one of those people, although I'm more fascinated by macro rather than micro. As for how I got into macro, I can't really say exactly what triggered it inside me, but I know it happened during my childhood, as I've had a fascination with the subject for as long as I can remember. However it started, I know it was made stronger through the countless bullying I experienced in school, as I imagined myself being the giant and having power over the bullies. Yes, I know it sounds childish and stupid, but it's true. Feel free to mock me in the comments if you want, I don't care. Obviously, I kept it to myself for quite a while, but as the internet and social media became commonplace, I discovered others with the same interest as me, and I became more comfortable with sharing it, culminating with me making my pony OC, Crimson Fool, a giant himself. If you follow me on social media, you'll no doubt have seen the many artworks of my OC I've commissioned over the years, and in the end it does make me happy to be able to share this side of me. As I mentioned just now, I discovered that there was a small but thriving community of people interested in macro, micro, and size difference in general. This community can be placed into 3 different groups. People who are interested in human giants / giantesses, people who are interested in furries of various sizes, or those who are into both. Over the last few years, this community has grown in size, with more people becoming comfortable sharing their fascination with the subject. A big part of this, I feel, is down to the expansion of the furry fandom, with macro/micro furries being able to take something that many people would find sexual and turning it into something more wholesome and safe for everyone to enjoy. Of course, there are those who also enjoy the more chaotic or destructive side of macro as well, myself included, although I very much enjoy the wholesome content too. Another part of the expansion of this interest is due to certain trends on social media. The rise of sites such as TikTok and OnlyFans have allowed certain niche interests to become more mainstream, which includes macrophilia, with some OnlyFans models playing the roles of giants/giantesses. Recent years have shown a huge rise in the searches of giantess content on certain adult websites, and even TikTok had a giantess trend going for a little while not too long ago, with these videos using visual perspectives and trickery to emulate size difference between two people. Sites such as DeviantArt and Furry have also allowed artists to share off their pieces which contain macro or micro. As mentioned earlier, macro has become somewhat more mainstream due to more wholesome depictions of the subject gaining popularity, especially in the furry fandom. Although some instances of kind humanoid giants/giantesses, such as the BFG, do exist. It does shed a new light on the matter and allows the fantasy to be shared beyond the community, helping it gain traction. Of course, more destructive macros do exist, and sexual content is definitely still prevalent, so it's definitely still an adult-oriented interest. But it's nice to have a wide variety of personalities for the macros within the community. All this leads to the subject of the video today, #MacroMarch. Believe it or not, this trend doesn't involve a group of oversized humans/furs parading around cities, although I would absolutely love to see that. Instead, it's an event that lasts throughout the month of March, where people interested in macros share their artwork, stories, animations, and any other creative media tied into them, their creations, or others being larger than life. #MacroMarch is mostly celebrated by the furry fandom, although all others of size content are free to join in. Now, as much as I scoured the internet looking here, there and everywhere, I could not find when this specific trend started, so we'll just assume #MacroMarch was created by some group of people some time ago who really loved alliteration. One activity that some creators, mostly artists, tend to participate in during #MacroMarch is what's known as a growth drive. This usually begins with a character being depicted at a certain size, usually their normal or canon size, and either through interactions with a post or donations made to the creator, the character will increase in size, with new artwork being produced or a new chapter added to a story, for example. This usually culminates at the end of the month with the character reaching cosmic proportions. This activity is a great way for a creator to engage with their community and allows the community to support their favourite macro creators. #MacroMarch isn't just constrained to sites like Twitter either. Yes, I still call it Twitter. F you, Elon. There are many Discord servers and communities who all share their love of macro and size content. People on YouTube have created videos about the trend, and sites like DeviantArt, Furry, and Tumblr all have multitudes of macro content for you to enjoy. I will say, however, that not all of the content will be safe for work, so explore this content at your own risk. With #MacroMarch, those with the Microphilia fetish tend to join in with the community celebrating the month, as all fans of resizing are welcome to share their interests together. However, microfans have their own month as well, with #MicroMay being another, albeit smaller, trend on social media. Overall, macro has had a steady rise in internet culture over the last few years, and #MacroMarch has certainly played its part in that. With more people discovering macro, micro, and just size content in general, it seems likely that #MacroMarch will become an even bigger trend in years to come, which I think is great. While I think it should stay as a generally adult topic, it doesn't need to be labelled as just a sexual fetish. Size content can be wholesome and fun, and even if it's not for you, hopefully you can appreciate that there's a dedicated community with a common passion to create and enjoy something that's a little outside the norm. As for me, well, if you never knew about my macro interest before, now you do, and I hope it doesn't dissuade you from enjoying my content as a whole. I've slowly made macro a part of my brand over the last few years, and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future, because in the end, it's part of who I am, and I figured I should be open with it, rather than have someone expose me and try to cancel me for it. I get why some people have to keep this common interest a secret for now, but I hope in time it becomes more accepted by society as a whole, and even more people feel comfortable with sharing this interest with the growing community. And yes, all the size puns I sprinkled throughout this video have been completely intentional. You really think I could resist? Ha! Grow up! I'll just end the video now.